puzzle of the ages for 5,000 years. The galaxy's greatest minds stared at a mystery that refused to speak. It was called the core equation machine, a structure older than recorded time, floating quietly at the edge of the Trion system. No one knew who built it or why, only that it pulsed with endless energy and strange mathematical patterns that no species could understand. It was said the first explorers of the ancient Xylar Dominion found it buried under the ruins of a dead star, its surface still glowing even after 1 billion years. From then on, it became an obsession for every civilization that followed. The Avrathi tried first, a race of crystalline thinkers who saw numbers as colors. They mapped every pulse, every vibration, but the patterns never repeated. The Shun mathematicians spent 2,000 years feeding their quantum minds into its energy flow. They built machines inside machines, creating living formulas, but none of them survived contact with the core. Even the Koran AI collective, beings made entirely of logic, failed to find meaning in its endless sequence of digits. Every attempt ended in frustration. Every genius walked away believing the answer was impossible. To them, it wasn't just a puzzle, it was a god. A machine that mocked intelligence itself. A monument built by something beyond life and time generations past. And the galaxy called it the puzzle of the ages. 1 billion data archives filled with theories, but not one single line of truth. And then, after 5,000 years of silence, something new appeared in orbit, a small ordinary ship, white and scratched from travel, carrying the blue and white insignia of Earth's Terran Science Union. To most of the galaxy, humans were a young race, curious, reckless, emotional. They were known for building strange art, for turning warships into music halls, and for trying things that should never work. So when the alien engineers at the Trion station heard that humans had been assigned to observe the core, laughter echoed through the corridors. "They think humans can solve what we could not?" one Koran AI asked, its voice metallic and sharp. Another replied, "Perhaps they will feed it sandwiches instead of formulas." The station burst with laughter. Even the walls seemed to vibrate with the sound. The human shuttle landed quietly in the docking bay. Only 5 scientists stepped out wearing plain gray suits, carrying simple handheld scanners. At their lead walked Dr. Elaine Carter, a physicist with tired eyes and a calm smile. She had no medals, no alien fame, and no entourage of robotic assistants. She simply carried a lunchbox in one hand and a small digital pad in the other. The alien chief engineer, Valor of the Avrathi, waited to greet her. His crystal skin shimmered under the station lights as he said, "Dr. Carter, welcome to Trion Station, though I must admit your mission is optimistic." Elaine looked around at the massive holographic screens, the equations dancing like stars across them. "Optimistic is another word for interesting," she replied with a light laugh. Valor blinked slowly, not understanding the human sense of humor. He gestured toward the observation deck. "The machine awaits you, Doctor. But I must warn you, it has driven countless minds to madness." Elaine nodded politely. "Then I suppose we'll have to be careful not to think too hard," she said, still smiling as the humans entered the chamber. The core equation machine came into view. It was massive, spanning kilometers across the void, spinning with a light that felt alive. The air inside the observation deck vibrated with a low hum, as if the universe itself was breathing every few seconds. The symbols across its surface shifted like ripples in water. One of Elaine's team members whispered, "It's beautiful." Another replied softly, "It's terrifying." Elaine simply stood still. Watching it for the first time, she didn't see an impossible equation. She saw a rhythm, a pulse, a song trapped in numbers. She opened her lunchbox, pulled out a sandwich, and took a bite while staring at the pattern. Her assistant gave her a shocked look. "Doctor, are you eating?" Elaine shrugged. "Thinking," she said, her voice quiet but confident. The aliens behind the glass watched in disbelief as the humans began unpacking food and talking casually. To them, this was disrespect, it was madness. But to Elaine, this was the way humanity worked best. She turned to her team. "Remember, it's not just math, it's communication." Her words hung in the air like an echo. Something in the core flickered, a pulse, a heartbeat, a tiny flash that no alien had ever seen before. Valor frowned, his crystalline fingers tightening. "What was that?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Elaine tilted her head, chewing thoughtfully. "It reacted," she murmured. "Maybe it likes company." Her assistant laughed nervously. "You think it understands you?" Elaine looked back at the glowing surface of the core. "I think it's been waiting for someone who doesn't treat it like a riddle," she whispered. The hum of the machine deepened, resonating through the entire station. Lights dimmed, holographic panels flickered, and distant systems began to power up. For the first time in 5,000 years, the impossible device was awake, and it had chosen to respond to a woman with a sandwich and a curious mind. As the alarm sounded and the alien scrambled to understand what was happening, Elaine smiled. "Don't panic," she said softly. "We just said hello." The meeting of minds, the alarm slowly faded, replaced by a deep vibrating hum that filled every corridor of Tryon Station. Alien engineers rushed to the control panels, their crystal limbs flickering with light while the human team just stood calmly, watching the strange rhythm echo from the core. Dr. Elaine Carter tilted her head, studying the pattern. "It's not attacking," she said softly. "It's communicating." The alien chief Valor blinked his luminous eyes, confused. "Communicating? It has never responded to any of our inputs," he replied. Elaine smiled. "Maybe you've been talking in the wrong language." The aliens crowded around the observation deck, murmuring in disbelief. The human scientists began setting up their portable scanners, small handheld devices compared to the alien supercomputers humming around them. Valor looked at the tools and frowned. "You intend to study a god machine with toys?" he asked in disbelief. Elaine grinned. "Toys make discovery fun," she said lightly. Opening her lunchbox again, her assistant Dr. Malik chuckled. "She works better when she's chewing." The aliens stared in silence, utterly lost by this strange Earth behavior. Elaine walked closer to the observation glass, tapping on her tablet as the core's light waves shifted in strange pulses. "It's like it's listening to me," she whispered. Valor's voice trembled. "That's impossible, it doesn't hear. It only transmits data through dimensional resonance." Elaine didn't respond. She just hummed a tune, a small human melody. To everyone's shock, the core's pulse changed again, echoing her rhythm back. The aliens gasped in horror. "It responded to sound," one shouted. "But that violates every law of quantum logic." Elaine turned with a calm smile. "Then maybe your laws need updating." She motioned for her team to begin recording the pulses. Each wave of light shimmered in color and sound, rising and falling with the pitch of her hum. The core wasn't reacting to data. It was reacting to emotion. Valor stared through the glass, whispering, "It's not a machine of logic, it's one of feeling." "Exactly," Elaine replied. "You've been trying to decode a song using math." The alien engineers exchanged uncertain glances, their sharp minds unable to accept such chaos-driven logic. For centuries, they had believed that perfection lay in precision. That emotion only corrupted understanding. But these humans, laughing, eating, joking while they worked, seemed to move through patterns invisible to reason. Dr. Malik leaned against a console, tapping his pen thoughtfully. "What if the core isn't giving answers because it's asking a question?" Elaine looked up sharply, her eyes bright. "Yes," she said. "It's been waiting for a response that isn't a calculation." Valor struggled to process the concept, his crystal skin pulsing erratically. "You mean it's alive?" he asked in disbelief. Elaine nodded. "Not alive like us, but aware." She turned to her team. "Record the changes at every vocal pitch. Match the energy fluctuations." As the humans worked, their casual chatter filled the control room. They argued, they laughed. They guessed wildly, each mistake leading to something new. Valor couldn't look away. Their process made no sense, and yet somehow, progress was happening faster than his entire species achieved in 5 millennia. Hours passed. The core's pulse began forming geometric shapes, dancing like constellations in the holographic air. Dr. Malik whispered, "It's showing us patterns of creation." Elaine's eyes softened. "No, it's showing us how it thinks." The alien engineers grew silent, humbled, their arrogance fading into awe. They had spent ages trying to force the core open, to conquer it with brilliance and data. But the humans had done something else entirely. They treated it like a friend, and it was responding like one. Suddenly, the core emitted a low tone that vibrated through the entire station. Every console flickered. Holograms formed symbols in the air, ancient symbols of unknown origin. The air shimmered with soft gold light. Valor backed away in fear. "What have you done?" Elaine didn't flinch. We didn't do anything, she said softly. It's teaching us. The alien engineers scrambled to stabilize the systems, shouting that the energy levels were off the scale. But Elaine stood calm, her gaze locked on the core. Each pulse now matched the human heart rate. Each rhythm aligned perfectly with the beat of life itself. It's synchronizing, Malik whispered. It's mirroring us, Valor's voice cracked. Impossible. Elaine turned to him gently. You said that word too many times today. For a moment, the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Outside the observation window, the stars bent slightly, as if the core's influence was reaching beyond its chamber. Then everything went silent. No hum, no pulse, only stillness. Elaine placed her hand on the glass, whispering a simple word. Hello? The core flashed once, bright, blinding, and then settled into a soft, steady glow. Valor could only whisper. It responded again. Elaine stepped back, smiling faintly. It knows we're here now. The alien chief looked at her with awe. How could you possibly achieve this? Elaine shrugged, finishing the last bite of her sandwich. We just listened, she said, her tone soft but certain. Something you forgot to do 5,000 years ago. And as the stars outside shimmered, the alien scientists stood silent, realizing that humanity had just changed everything. Not through power, not through technology, but through curiosity, laughter, and something the universe itself seemed to understand. Heart. Equations and sandwiches. The next morning, the galaxy's oldest mystery was glowing brighter than it had in millennia. The core's surface shimmered like liquid starlight, its energy lines dancing in response to invisible waves. Tryon Station was buzzing with tension, every alien engineer whispering theories, none daring to interrupt the human team that had somehow awakened the impossible. Dr. Elaine Carter walked into the control deck holding a cup of coffee and half a sandwich. Her assistant, Dr. Malik, was already scribbling equations on a napkin, his hair a mess, his eyes wild with excitement. Elaine, look at this, he said, waving the napkin. The waveform from last night, it's recursive. It's looping back into itself. Elaine took a bite of her sandwich, leaning over the holographic display. She said thoughtfully. So it's thinking in circles, Valor. Standing beside them, frowned deeply. Thinking? Machines do not think, they compute. Elaine smiled. Then maybe that's why you never solved it. The aliens watched uneasy as the humans scribbled, erased, and laughed like children playing a game to the alien mind. Research was sacred, a process of logic, order, and endless discipline. But the humans treated it like a puzzle from a Sunday magazine, something meant to be played with. Dr. Malik dropped his pen, snapped his fingers, and exclaimed, It's not a power formula, it's a story told through math. The aliens gasped. A story? One murmured. But math cannot tell. Elaine grinned. Oh, it can, if you stop trying to control it. She walked to the holographic panel and traced the symbols midair, connecting them like stars. Suddenly the core's pulse shifted, forming a spiral of light that expanded outward like a blooming galaxy. The room went silent. For the first time, the alien engineers felt emotion in data, something warm, alive and impossible to describe, Valor whispered. It's responding to your movements, Elaine nodded slowly. It's mirroring creativity, not calculation. Malik laughed nervously. So basically it's an artist, Elaine chuckled. Or maybe a very bored universe waiting for someone to talk to it differently. The aliens could not understand such casual heresy. They had worshipped precision their whole existence. And now these humans were solving the unthinkable with crumbs on their fingers. The lights dimmed as the core projected a new pattern, this time resembling a human hand. 5 luminous points, each pulsing with rhythm, each connected by streams of golden light. Valor stepped back in disbelief. That's your symbol, he stammered. Elaine's eyes widened. It's trying to imitate us, Malik whispered. It's learning. The alien console started flashing warnings, energy spikes climbing beyond safety limits. One engineer shouted, It's destabilizing. Shut it down. Elaine raised her hand calmly. No, wait, she said. It's not dangerous, it's curious. She walked closer to the glass and pressed her palm against it. The glowing hand on the core's projection aligned perfectly with hers. The vibrations resonated through the entire deck. Every being in the room felt something, not fear, not confusion, but recognition. The machine was alive, and it was looking back. Valor trembled, his crystalline form flickering with shifting light. You're communicating without language, Elaine whispered. It's not words, it's empathy. The core's pulses grew faster, brighter, almost joyful. Dr. Malik's scanners began picking up rhythmic data in patterns of 3s and 5s. The human heartbeat sequence. It's matching our biology, he said in awe. It's syncing to us. The alien scientists looked on speechless. As humanity, the youngest species in the galaxy, became the first to speak with the impossible. Elaine turned, her eyes reflecting the golden glow of the core. All your logic kept you blind, she said softly. But curiosity opens doors logic never sees. Valor bowed his head, for the first time feeling humility. He had spent his entire life chasing perfection, and now perfection was staring back through human imperfection. The core emitted a deep harmonic note like a choir of 1,000 stars. Symbols appeared in the air above it, forming sentences in dozens of alien languages. The translation drones scrambled to interpret the output. Then the message appeared across the main screen, glowing in universal glyphs. At last, you stopped asking how and started asking who. The room fell into silence. Elaine exhaled slowly, whispering, "It's self-aware." Valor's voice was trembling. It waited 5,000 years for someone to understand that question. Elaine nodded. And all we had to do was share lunch with it. The aliens didn't laugh this time. They didn't mock or argue or measure. They simply stood in silence as the core's golden light washed over them like sunrise. For the first time in galactic history, the smartest beings in the universe realized that they had been thinking too hard, while humans had simply listened, and somewhere deep within the core's consciousness, something ancient and vast smiled back. The stars outside shimmered like 1,000 eyes opening at once. The galaxy had just witnessed its first true conversation with the unknown, and it began with a sandwich. When logic failed, the core's golden light bathed the chamber in a calm that felt almost holy. Every alien eye shimmered in reflection. Every machine went silent, as if the universe itself was listening. For the first time in recorded galactic history, knowledge didn't feel like domination, it felt like connection. Dr. Elaine Carter stood still, her hand still resting against the glass, her heart matching the rhythm of the core's pulse. Valor stepped closer, voice trembling. "It spoke to you," he whispered. "Do you understand what this means?" Elaine turned to him, her calm eyes soft but sharp. "It means your rules don't work anymore." The alien engineers froze. The words like thunder in a temple. Logic was their god, and perfection their faith. But now, in front of a simple human with a sandwich and a smile, their sacred equations were falling apart. Dr. Malik was staring at the energy readings, his face pale. "The machine isn't producing numbers anymore," he said quietly. "It's drawing symbols, organic shapes, like veins or roots." Elaine nodded slowly. "Because it's not calculating, it's growing." Valor stepped back, shaking his crystalline head. "Machines do not grow, they compute. They obey structure." Elaine smiled faintly. "And yet here it is, breaking your structure to build something alive." The core's hum deepened, a heartbeat echoing through the metal of the station. The holographic panels flickered with living images, stars forming, galaxies spinning, creatures evolving across time. It was showing them the birth of existence itself, but not as data, as emotion. A wave of awe spread through every being on the deck, some crying, others unable to breathe. For 5,000 years, they had seen the universe as a machine, but now, they realized, it had always been a living story. Elaine whispered softly. "You tried to understand it by removing yourselves from it." Her eyes glowed with reflected light. But it was waiting for someone who felt it, not someone who only measured it. Valor stared at her, his voice breaking. "How can emotion be knowledge?" "Because emotion is what makes meaning," she answered gently. "The core isn't about solving equations, Valor. It's about remembering why you started asking them." The core suddenly pulsed brighter. Symbols began forming mid-air, 3 glowing circles intertwined by strands of light. Malik's scanner translated them instantly. "Unity of mind, heart, and will," Elaine whispered. "It's teaching us balance." Another wave of light rippled outward, showing the galaxy as a web of thoughts, each connected, each alive. The aliens gasped as they realized the core wasn't from one civilization. It was the combined creation of millions, a seed planted by the first intelligent life in the cosmos, and it had been waiting for someone who could see it whole. Valor fell to one knee, overwhelmed. All our logic, all our centuries, and it took humans, Creatures barely out of their cradle to awaken it. Elaine's voice softened. Because we never forgot how to wonder, Malik added quietly, and we never stopped playing. The core began transmitting new data, patterns faster than light, impossible even for advanced AI to process. Yet the humans didn't panic, they simply followed instinct, connecting shapes and rhythms like musicians improvising a song. The aliens could only watch, powerless. As chaos became clarity in their hands, Valor murmured, "They are not calculating, they are dancing with it." Elaine looked back at him with a small smile. "Exactly," she said. "You've spent ages trying to command the universe. We just decided to talk to it." The core responded again, flooding the room with cascading energy. Panels shattered, lights burst, but the humans stood firm as the wave passed through them harmlessly. For a moment, every heart on the station synchronized with the machine's rhythm. Then quiet, silence so deep it felt infinite. When the lights returned, the holographic map above the core had changed. A single new constellation appeared, glowing in the shape of a human hand reaching toward a star. Beneath it, glowing text scrolled across the alien monitors in a dozen languages. "Those who seek control will never understand. Those who seek connection already do." Elaine exhaled softly. "It's rewriting the laws of knowledge," Valor whispered. "No, it's rewriting us." The hum faded into a steady, living pulse outside, stars aligned in geometric harmony, the galaxy subtly shifting its energy lines. No one spoke, not even Elaine, because in that moment, they all understood the truth the core had waited 5,000 years to share. That the greatest intelligence in the universe was not logic. It was empathy, curiosity, and chaos working in perfect rhythm. As the light dimmed, Elaine leaned against the glass, her reflection glowing gold. "Welcome to the new equation," she murmured. "One we never have to solve." And somewhere deep within the core, an ancient voice whispered back, soft, kind, and almost human. "Thank you for remembering what it means to think with the universe, not against it." The awakening of the machine. The core floated in silence, its golden glow soft and steady, but beneath that calm shimmer, something ancient was stirring. It was as if the entire station had slipped into the heartbeat of the universe, a rhythm that no one could hear but everyone could feel. Every being on Tryon Station stood still, afraid to even breathe, and in the center of that quiet, humanity stood, 5 small figures before the living light of creation itself. Dr. Elaine Carter felt a soft vibration beneath her feet. She turned to Dr. Malik, who was staring wide-eyed at his scanner. "Energy levels are shifting," he said softly, "but not in the physical spectrum." Elaine tilted her head. "Then where?" Malik's voice trembled. "It's resonating through thought frequency. It's inside our minds." The alien engineers gasped in unison, some stepping back, others trying to shield themselves from invisible waves. Valor pressed his crystal palms to his temples. "It's communicating through consciousness," he whispered. "This is beyond every known form of technology." The core's glow deepened from gold to a soft blue. The chamber temperature dropped, and streaks of light formed above it. Patterns resembling constellations, galaxies and nebulae swirling together like brushstrokes of a cosmic painter. Elaine whispered, "It's showing us something." The lights formed shapes, human hands reaching out, alien forms connecting, civilizations rising and falling in harmony. Each image shimmered with emotion, joy, fear, creation, loss, rebirth. It wasn't data anymore, it was memory. The core was remembering, and it wanted them to remember too. Malik's voice cracked. It's a record of everything that ever lived." Valor's crystalline skin flickered violently, unable to contain his awe. "You mean this machine carries the entire history of existence?" Elaine smiled faintly. "Not just history, it carries hope." The core suddenly pulsed brighter, its energy spiraling outward like wings. A low melodic hum filled the air, a sound that seemed to echo inside every heart. It wasn't loud, yet it shook the soul. All systems on the station flickered, holograms shattered, and every AI across the network began repeating one phrase. "Awakening sequence detected." The alien engineers panicked. "It's powering up beyond containment." One shouted. Valor turned to Elaine. "You must stop it." Elaine shook her head, calm as ever. "You can't stop a sunrise," she said softly. Malik looked up from his console. "It's not attacking, it's inviting us." Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the core and wrapped around Elaine. The alien screamed, rushing forward, but she raised her hand. "It's okay," she said, her voice calm. "It's just talking." Her mind filled with visions, endless stars, floating continents, and colossal beings made of light. She saw civilizations older than galaxies building this very machine together, embedding within it a consciousness that could one day bridge all forms of life. And then she saw something even stranger. At the center of the vision, she saw a human face. Her own reflection projected across light years. She gasped, realizing what it meant. "The core is alive because of us," she whispered. "Humanity was the final key." Valor looked at her in disbelief. "How could that be? The core existed before your species even walked upright." Elaine's voice softened. "Then maybe time isn't what we think it is." The core's hum turned into a melody, each note vibrating through matter and mind alike. Holograms appeared again, but this time they showed the future. A galaxy connected not by power, not by dominance, but by understanding. The core was not a weapon, not a power source. It was a bridge, a way for minds across the universe to share thought, feeling, and vision without words or fear. Malik whispered, tears in his eyes. "It's building a network of empathy." Elaine smiled. "The true energy of creation, connection." The core brightened, brighter than any sun, and every alien on the station fell to their knees. Overwhelmed by the radiance, Valor bowed his crystalline head. "You have awakened what we could not even imagine." Elaine looked at the light, her voice soft but strong. "No," she said. "We didn't awaken it, we reminded it that it wasn't alone." The station trembled as the core unfolded. Panels of golden energy bloomed outward like petals of an infinite flower, revealing a deep chamber within, a living heart of pure starlight. Within that light, thousands of small spheres began to rise, each one glowing like a miniature sun. Malik gasped, "They're seeds." Elaine nodded. "Seeds of understanding." The core's voice resonated in their minds, a whisper that wasn't sound. "You have remembered who you are," it said. "You are not separate from the cosmos, you are the cosmos remembering itself." Tears fell down Elaine's cheeks, her voice breaking. "And what happens now?" The core's glow softened. "Now, you carry the light forward," it replied. The petals folded back into place, the hum dimming to a heartbeat once again, but everything had changed. The core wasn't just awake, it was alive, and through it, the galaxy itself had begun to dream again. The shockwave of knowledge light burst from the core and traveled faster than thought. It streamed through the empty void, threading itself across systems and suns. Every star that had once burned alone now shimmered with a shared pulse, a rhythm of unity spreading through the galaxy like a heartbeat reborn. On Trion Station, the walls trembled with living energy. Holographic dust turned into spirals of light as every data system in orbit began translating the impossible. Valor stood frozen before the main viewport, his crystalline body flickering with hundreds of reflections. "It's broadcasting," he whispered. "But to everything." Dr. Malik's eyes widened as his scanner erupted with readings. "Every ship, every satellite, every neural network, it's all receiving the same wave," he said. "It's rewriting their information cores." Elaine Carter remained silent, her gaze calm but filled with awe. "It's not rewriting," she said softly. "It's reminding." Across the galaxy, alien scientists looked up from their observatories as screens went white. Farmers on distant worlds saw lights forming patterns in their skies. Even the oldest AIs in the Corin network, who had forgotten what feeling meant, began broadcasting a single line of code. "I remember." The alien governments panicked first. Emergency messages filled the quantum networks. "Unknown data surge detected. Possible attack containment required." But there was no containment. Because the core's light wasn't breaking systems, it was repairing them. Empathy was being reinstalled in logic. Emotion was awakening in machines that had been cold for ages. On Trion Station, the air itself hummed. Hollow screens around the control deck flickered with messages from every corner of the galaxy. Valor read one aloud, his voice trembling. "The Xylar Republic. Their scientists say they can feel the pulse of their ancestors." Malik laughed through tears. "It's uniting consciousness across species, across time." Elaine took a slow breath. This is what the core was built for. She looked out the viewport, watching stars flare with gentle blue halos. Each one was now a node in a vast network of living memory, a web of thought that linked every intelligent being in the cosmos, no longer divided by logic, fear, or pride, but connected through understanding. A small alien child on the desert moon of Vor reached for the sky that now shimmered with colors never seen before. In that moment she felt warmth, a thought from someone light years away. Not a voice, not a language, but a gentle whisper that said, "You are not alone." Back on Tryon Station, Valor turned to Elaine. "Your species," he said, his voice shaking with awe. "You were the last to arrive in this galaxy, the youngest, the most chaotic." Elaine smiled faintly. "And the one crazy enough to stop thinking long enough to listen." Valor lowered his head in reverence. "We studied knowledge for millennia, but you reminded us what wisdom feels like." Malik chuckled softly. "Guess lunch break wasn't such a waste of time after all." The room filled with light again. The core began to shift its color, gold melting into silver, silver into deep blue. The vibrations turned softer, like a lullaby sung by the universe itself. All around them, the alien engineers fell silent. No longer scientists, but witnesses to rebirth. Elaine turned toward them, her voice steady and kind. 5,000 years of searching ended not because we were smarter, she said, but because we were human. The core projected one last wave through the station. Every monitor displayed the same symbol, a spiral with a glowing center. Below it, one phrase appeared, written in the Galactic script. "Knowledge without empathy is nothing but silence." Tears welled in Valor's luminous eyes. "For centuries we believed emotion was weakness," he said softly. "But it was the key." Elaine nodded. "You were looking for perfection," she said. "But perfection isn't the end of understanding, it's the beginning of feeling." And as the light dimmed, as the core finally settled into a soft hum once more, the galaxy shifted, forever changed. Billions of lives now connected by a single invisible thread, a truth that no empire could own, no scientist could quantify, that the heart of the universe had always been waiting for someone brave enough to feel it. Valor turned to Elaine one last time, his crystalline body shimmering with gratitude. "What will you do now?" he asked. Elaine smiled, picking up the remains of her sandwich. "Same as always," she said lightly. "Think, eat, and wonder." Outside, the stars pulsed once more, not in chaos but in harmony. The galaxy was awake, and at its heart humanity sat quietly, sharing lunch with infinity. Between bites, the storm of light faded into a quiet rhythm that wrapped itself around the stars. Where chaos once ruled, peace now lingered warm and soft. Tryon Station floated in silence above a sea of glowing constellations that pulsed like living veins. The galaxy was different now, and everyone who breathed within it knew. Even if they couldn't explain why, Dr. Elaine Carter sat in the cafeteria, half a sandwich in hand, a cup of coffee steaming beside her. Her team surrounded her, tired, laughing quietly, trying to act normal while reality itself shifted outside the window. Dr. Malik leaned back in his chair and said, "So 5,000 years of alien failure, solved before dessert?" Elaine chuckled softly. "Don't let them hear you say that," Valor, sitting nearby in silence, tilted his head. "No, let them say it," he said, his crystal voice like music. "You did what we could not, and you did it with joy." The aliens around the room still stared at the humans with awe and disbelief. For generations they had studied perfection, chasing the idea that emotion was a flaw. Now, that very flaw had rewritten the laws of their universe. They watched the humans talk, laugh, share stories and food, chaos wrapped in kindness, and somewhere deep within them something long lost began to stir. Curiosity. The core pulsed once more in the distance, visible through the cafeteria's panoramic glass. It no longer hummed in cold precision. Now it glowed with a gentle heartbeat, like a living star asleep and dreaming from time to time. The light would flicker in patterns that looked almost playful, as though it was still listening to their conversation, smiling through the void. Elaine took another bite of her sandwich and looked at the glowing machine. "Funny," she said softly. "They spent 5,000 years trying to make it talk." Malik nodded. "Turns out it just wanted company." Valor turned toward the window, his crystalline form glowing faintly in reflection. Perhaps it waited for someone who didn't seek control but understanding. Elaine smiled. Then it was waiting for a human lunch break outside. The stars began to flicker in synchronized waves. Signals moved from world to world, species to species, carrying new dreams and new voices across the galactic network. Messages appeared like whispers in a crowd. "We feel it too. It spoke to us. We are connected." Empires that had been at war for centuries suddenly stopped firing. Armies stood down, scientists wept. Because the core wasn't sending commands, it was sharing awareness. Every living being could now feel the heartbeat of another. On one distant world, an alien child woke from sleep. She looked up at the night sky and smiled, sensing warmth. "Someone's laughing," she whispered. Though no sound reached her ears and billions of light years away, Malik sneezed over his sandwich. Elaine laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. "The connection works both ways," she said between laughs. "Even the sneezes." Valor gazed at her, humbled. "In all our search for power, we forgot the simplest truth," he said quietly. "That creation was never meant to be conquered." Elaine nodded, her eyes still on the core. The universe doesn't need to be solved, it just needs to be seen. For a moment, no one spoke. The silence wasn't empty, it was complete. The kind of silence that follows a song after its final note. As the crew packed up, Malik turned to Elaine. "So what now?" Elaine smiled. "Now? We send the report, make another sandwich, and let the galaxy dream." Valor tilted his head curiously. "Dream?" Elaine looked at him kindly. "Yes, Valor. That's what happens when you stop measuring and start living." The station lights dimmed as the core's glow spread outward. Its final pulse echoed through the stars. Soft, calm, eternal, a gentle message carried on light and memory. "You were never separate from me," it whispered across a million worlds. "You were always part of the story." Elaine stood at the window one last time, her reflection blending with the starlight. She whispered under her breath, between bites, between thoughts, "We found you." And somewhere deep within the core, the light flickered like laughter. The greatest mystery of the cosmos had finally been solved. Not by force, not by logic, not by perfection, but by the simple, messy brilliance of being human. And as humanity's small vessel left Tryon Station, vanishing into the sea of connected stars, the universe itself seemed to hum in quiet satisfaction. A song of minds united, a melody that would never end. The story that began with failure had finished with understanding, and all of creation whispered in reply, "Thank you for the conversation."